I've always worked in startups, whether that's very, very early startup or whether that's, Series A or B, always in the digital space, predominantly in customer. When you work for a startup, there are no boundaries, there are no rules, there's no playbooks by any means, and you have to kind of be brave and go in and take a chance and say, there's no structure, I'm gonna have to put this structure into place. The opportunities were endless. When I was hiring people, they were like, what's my career trajectory, what's my career opportunity? And it was like, whatever actually you want it to be.
Thank you so much, Kelly, for joining us today. If it's okay with you, we'll just dive right in.
Absolutely, yes.
So you joined Farfetch in 2010 as Digital Marketing Director. Can you share some key moments from your early days at Farfetch and how your company's vision and mission resonated with you?
Yeah, when I started, there were 10 of us in a room, and that was it. We now have over 6,000 employees. And so to watch that journey, to be one of the first employees to then, one of 6,000 has been absolutely incredible. For me, what really drew me to Farfetch was the mission and the vision. So I don't know if a lot of people know this, but the founder and CEO, Jose Neves, he was a boutique owner himself. And he had a boutique on Savile Row. And what he realized is, in 2007, a lot of the boutiques were being sort of squeezed out of the market because online was becoming a much more prevalent shopping experience. And the boutique owners didn't really have the know-how, they didn't have the capital, they didn't really have the resources to go online. And then you had the pure plays like Net-a-Porter coming into the market and taking their customers. And then you also had the online department stores as well, like Neiman Marcus. And the boutique plays a super big part in the fashion ecosystem because they are the ones that take the bets on the brand new brands and designers that are coming up, where your department stores are typically going to buy very sort of like, narrow and deep. These guys actually take a chance on a lot of the different up and coming brands. So without these boutiques, you then actually lose a lot of what the fashion ecosystem really has. So when I understood what he was trying to do, he was creating a marketplace to allow these boutiques the same access, the same technology, the same sort of know-how to sell their items and connect their items to the customer. And so from very early on, our ethos was really about helping the fashion industry and really supporting the fashion community. And so that's something I just felt really strongly about. It felt like it had a really good mission and purpose. The best moments for me, I think, were starting the digital marketing team, so starting that from scratch. For a long time, we actually didn't do any above the, brand marketing. It was all through digital and digital acquisition. And then, we expanded quite rapidly globally. So I was very much part of leading that international experience and then taking the company public. So actually got to stand on the actual stage and ring the bell, which, doesn't happen for a lot of people. And that was remarkable. It's still like, I'm still in shock that I was able to do that. And then starting FPS, which is Farfetch Platform Solutions, which is the B2B side, not the marketplace. So, it's been 13 years. It's been an incredible journey. Lots of different pockets of fantastic moments.
Yeah, I think it's great to just be there at the very start. It's super exciting to obviously still be here and reflect on that. Yeah. What can you share what your career was like before you joined Farfetch?
So I've always worked in startups. And whether that's very, very early startup or whether that's, Series A or B, always in the digital space, predominantly in customer. So digital marketing, whether it's acquisition or retention or user experience. I had it's not an engineering degree. I had a business degree focusing on computer information systems, but went to the digital space. And then it's kind of come full circle. But I don't really have the position I have today because of that engineering degree necessarily. So it was a lot of startups in digital marketing and customer.
And what was the first career you had following university?
So interestingly, I think I thought I wanted to be an engineer. And my very first day, I remember I was like, oh no, this actually is not for me. And so I sort of repositioned my job, went into more of an inside sales and marketing. And really what we were doing, because it was so early days, it wasn't called product, it wasn't called product marketing, it wasn't called user research, but that's what I was doing. And so, yeah, morphed my position where I was like, this really isn't for me. And so was really lucky enough to be able to pivot and find out what I did actually really like, and be able to utilize some of the skills that I learned from my degree, but not necessarily actually put it into practice. And then from there, I went and started working for a company called eBags, which was an online bag retailer in digital marketing. But at that time, I didn't really know what digital marketing was. I shouldn't say this, but sort of blagged my way into getting the role. But what that meant is I was learning on the job quite quickly. And, I'd write down all the things that people were saying. They'd say like CTR and CPC, and I didn't know what any of these things meant. I was just nodding my head. And I would get up every morning and be at the office by 5 a.m. and be like, right, CTR, what is that? CPC, and so learning as we were going. And I loved it, absolutely loved it. And I had a brilliant manager and a brilliant team. And that's really very, very early in my career what started my actual discipline in digital marketing.
Wow, that's great. That dedication for sure.
It was, I loved it. I was so fascinated by it. And I knew I wanted to do it, but I was like, well, how else am I going to do it? I need to figure this out.
And when reflecting on your skills, which ones did you bring to Farfetch, and how have they kind of evolved over your time there?
Well, luckily I did evolve my digital marketing skills, and so I was able to bring those to Farfetch. But I think we talk a lot about, what you learn in education, but I think a huge part is also about the softer skills as well, and about understanding the influencing and the teamwork and the cross-functional nature of what digital marketing means. And so I think that's really what I brought to the table as well, because when you work for a startup, there are no boundaries, there are no rules, there's no playbooks by any means, and you have to kind of be brave and go in and take a chance and say, there's no structure, I'm going to have to put this structure into place. I'm going to get a lot of things wrong, but as long as I have a strategy, it's not necessarily wrong. I didn't fail because I didn't have a strategy. I basically failed because that strategy was wrong. And so you have to end up being brave and trusting yourself. And so those are the skills that I think I brought to the table, along with the digital marketing skills. But I think also when you start from such early days, you have to learn how to build a team. And so building a team for me is super important because it is about the people, and it's about finding the right puzzle and the right mix and not having the same type of people. And so for me, it's like a puzzle or like a patchwork that, you have to, you just have to really sort of understand and read and understand. Just because somebody is saying they want to do some role, another role might be better for them. And so you have to really understand people, I think.
Yeah, for sure. It's tapping into kind of what you know and just dealing with other people for sure.
Exactly. Like we did they're called Clifton strengths. So you basically learn what your top strengths are. And mine was the arranger. So it's basically arranging people and problems. And I think that really resonated with me because that is actually, I think, a good skill set to potentially have.
And what were your challenges and opportunities you faced when you joined Farfetch as one of the first UK employees?
Loads of challenges. I'll start with the opportunities. The opportunities were endless. And again, when I was hiring people, they were like, what's my career trajectory? What's my career opportunity? And it was like, whatever actually you want it to be, because there are no rules right now. You can come in and make your role as big or as small as you want to make it. There are so many opportunities. And so I think the biggest one for me was to really shape the overall culture and the foundation of Farfetch. So, because it was so early on, we basically didn't have our company values written down. We all knew it, but we didn't actually have it written down. And so to be able to be part of the team that actually created the company values and what we stood for was really, I think, really important. Then on the other side, the opportunities were, the career development that the lack of structure, I think, really gave us. I would say the challenge is probably that, like not actually knowing what you're going to be doing, it can be quite scary and quite daunting. And then also from a business side, it was a startup. So we basically didn't have a lot of cash. And so having to be really resilient and really creative and, spending money like it was your own, it was challenging. And then sometimes, the thought of, oh no, we might be running out of money. We need to do more fundraising. And so I think those were probably really good challenges because there's huge learning opportunities as well.
For sure. I feel like those challenges really make you resilient and just, passionate and proud of what your work in the end as well.
It is, and I think what's really interesting about it is you're very mindful then, right? So, you're not just going to work for a large organization, and there's nothing wrong with that either, but you are basically creating something and you're putting your stamp on it, and so you're very mindful of what you're doing and how you're spending your time and where you're actually spending your energy.
And how have your roles and responsibilities changed over the last 13 years? And how do you stay motivated to kind of keep taking on these new challenges?
It's a good question. I mean, I think about my career in almost like 3 distinct chunks at Farfetch. So as you said, I joined to create and run digital marketing, and there was no team. And so had to build that from the ground, and was really proud of what we did. And we didn't have a lot of brand awareness for a long time because everything we did was through digital acquisition. So everything through Google and at that time, no real social sites. But yeah, so it was really building the foundations that still are in place today for digital marketing. And then from there, I took on what we called an international growth role. And the idea was that, we were able to ship to all of these customers globally, but we weren't actually giving a very good experience because we weren't localizing the website. So they weren't in local languages, they didn't have local payment methods. And so part of my role was to actually go and spend time in each one of these countries that we were thinking about localizing in and really understanding the culture. So I would stay a month in South Korea and just meet with every type of organization you can possibly imagine. Didn't matter if it wasn't in luxury or wasn't in fashion, to understand consumer trends and how they actually, what they wanted from us. And so super fortunate to be able to do that. And then, we basically localized in lots of different languages, lots of different sites. And so it was able to do that. And then the third journey was really starting up Farfetch Platform Solutions. And that for me is probably my proudest achievement at Farfetch. And to be able to create a startup business unit in a high growth company it's been great. So yeah.